even though like even diet sodas will or can be a cause of kidney stones and so on. So
Oh.
the more I dug into this, I kept finding new rabbit holes to kind of explore as far as health goes. And yeah, I'm one of these people that when I find an interesting topic, I really dive in head first. And to this day, I'm still spending a lot of time researching, what's going on with health and life extension. And I take a lot of supplements. I do hormone replacement therapy. I work out.
Yeah, as far as that goes, your diet, could you briefly describe that? I'm kind of familiar with it, but for a lot of the new viewers here tonight, it's what you would call maybe somewhat of a paleo diet?
Yeah, it's kind of gotten the name, the paleo diet, based off what humans ate during Paleolithic times, and that's basically the era going back about 2.5 million years ago, up to about 11 or 12,000 years ago when humans basically invented agriculture, and grains really became a staple of our diet. The Paleolithic diet is basically a hunter-gatherer diet where we ate lots of animal meats and that were high in fats, the Paleolithic diet can be characterized as sort of a high-fat diet, a moderate protein diet, and a low-carb diet. Now, what differentiates this from Atkins is the type of fats and oils that people on the paleo diet will eat. For instance, Atkins was fine with pretty much any fats and oils as long as they weren't trans fat, whereas people on the paleo diet don't eat a lot of these processed vegetable oils like corn oil and peanut oil and soy oil, which are proven to be very inflammatory to the human body. Just like grains are also very inflammatory to most people that are walking the planet.
And for those who are just watching tonight, chronic inflammation is something that is well researched as a cause of aging, or at least highly implicated in aging and disease, is chronic inflammation. And Scott is saying that, giving a list of some of these oils, these vegetable oils that do cause inflammation, as well as grains. Well, continue on.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at what we eat nowadays, about 70% of what the typical American eats nowadays didn't exist 12,000 years ago, wasn't available to us. And so, we really aren't genetically adapted to most of the foods that people are eating nowadays, and especially the high quantity of calories that are coming our way. Grains, everything that we eat that's grain, for instance, very quickly turns to basically sugar in our body, or glucose.
Sure.
And causes a spike in insulin, which shuts down our ability to burn fat for several hours. It stores all that excess glucose as fat, and really most modern diseases are diseases of inflammation and overexposure to sugar.
Sugar.
And these are diseases that, when they go back through the paleopathology of our ancestors, most of these diseases did not exist, and so they're really self-inflicted diseases of the modern food supply.
Sure.
And so my diet and a lot of other people is a diet that avoids this. And my diet is about 60 to 65% fat daily. And yet my triglycerides are extremely low, my HDL is extremely high, in the top probably 10th of 1% of all Americans.
Sure.
I had my arteries imaged just last November, and they were completely whistle clean.
Excellent.
So, it's a big myth out there that you need to stay on a low-fat diet.
Right.
You just need to stay on a correct fat diet.
Right.
And that includes
Correct fats.
Yeah, and that includes a lot of saturated fat, which most Americans are have been told that is the wrong kind of fat. They're told that usually when you read saturated fat, you read artery clogging saturated fat. And there's no research out there that shows that that's the case.
Right, yeah, and that's one thing that does persist, the myth about a high-fat diet, that it, if you're eating the right fats, that it isn't a it isn't a detriment to your health. Now, I know some of the people who are in the chat also practice caloric restriction, and I know you had mentioned, I just want to bring up this point, that you had mentioned that glucose, having too much and having your insulin spike is also a cause of aging and age-related diseases. But if you are going to restrict your calories, usually you can eat a higher percentage of carbs and you won't get that insulin spike. Higher percentage of carbs, but as long as you're keeping your your total calorie count way down, then that is shown to be very beneficial to health as well. Yeah, I was and on the fat myth, I know I had a couple other people in here early last year talking about the paleo diet and different types of diet for health and longevity, and they said it was Dr. Davis. He said that the main thing is in hospitals with their dietary guidelines, they're still going off of things that were created 30 or 40 years ago when this whole anti-fat campaign began, and that's really the root of some of this myth that continues on. But as you're living proof, you just said, what, 60 to 65% of your diet on a typical day is fat, right? The healthy fat.
Absolutely.
Yes. And you did mention.
As a matter of fact,
go ahead.
Just real quickly, I mean, a lot of it is I'll eat saturated fat right out of a jar in the form of coconut fat, which years ago was villainized as one of the worst fats going because it's like 95% saturated fat, and yet I eat probably 400 calories worth of saturated coconut oil every day, and I eat it with little bits of dark chocolate. It's so delicious. Everyone who I've had try this, just thinks it's absolutely delicious.
What? Oh my word! Let me tell you, I'm going to go on camera here again and tell everyone how good this treat is, because I saw that some other people had been making this treat. What I make is with chocolate, very dark chocolate, like 80-90% dark, and then coconut oil and whey protein powder. It could be chocolate flavored whey protein powder or vanilla whey protein powder. I mix those together, kind of equal parts, and is that a super treat, let me tell you. And from most research, it's also a very healthy treat. So I agree with you there, Scott, on that treat. I would recommend that one, certainly. The coconut oil thing, though, I find that it's very delicious as well. So I'm glad that I've stumbled across the health benefits of coconut oil. You mentioned also supplements, and I just want to get your feel on the top handful of supplements that you do take for anti-aging effects or life extension purposes.
Sure. I take about 70 supplements a day. And
hold on. Just in case anyone didn't hear, about 70 is what you said. About 70. Okay.
And, I take a lot of marine lipids, which are highly anti-inflammatory.
Fish oil.
Fish oil is one of them. Krill oil, and there's some like green lipped muscle oil that I take, all with anti-inflammatory effects. Also, if I were to name my top 5 supplements, I would definitely go with fish oil as one of them, just because it is so good as far as being anti-inflammatory. I would also list vitamin D3, which is great for the immune system. It's great for calcium regulation. It helps prevent heart disease by keeping coronary calcium, out of your arteries. Scientific American, had an 8-page cover story on the benefits of vitamin D just about a year and a half ago that I encourage people to look it up.
And that's vitamin D3.
Vitamin right? D3, it's important to get that. The foods that are fortified with vitamins, or vitamin D, I should say, are using vitamin D2, which is the much less effective kind. I would never recommend anyone use vitamin D2.
So D3.
Which is another D3. I would also recommend magnesium, which is involved in about 400 chemical processes within our body. And we're always hearing about calcium, but magnesium is sort of the yin, the calcium's yang. And so, it's amazing how many people start taking magnesium and realize, benefits like, much fewer headaches, much better muscle relaxation. For instance, calcium is the mineral that muscles use for control